Welcome to Storm Tracker, your eye on the storm of your Carolina Hurricanes, and your home for the best insight and analysis to keep you totally informed on what's happening with the Canes. Whether it's the latest news on the ice or off the ice, we've got you covered. Now let's begin. Here's your host, Tom Ray.
Well, Chicago Wolves wrapped up an incredible season in 25-26, finally bowing out to the Toronto Marlies in the Calder Cup Finals. Props to Spiros Anastas and his entire coaching staff on a job well done. What were the highlights of the Wolves' long run? What's been brewing for the Wolves over the summer months? And what should we expect from the Wolves in the upcoming season? Joining me as always on today's edition of the Chicago Wolves Report, our Chicago Wolves insider, Andrew Rinaldi. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Tom. Hey, Coach. It's a little warm out to be talking about hockey, but you know what? It's always a good time to be talking with you guys.
Well, of course, as you said, Coach, we are so delighted to welcome back Spiros Anastas. Spiros, great to have you back, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's never too early to talk hockey, and once the calendar flips to July 1st, that's pretty much like Hockey New Year. So excited to get into 26-27 here.
Well, that's great stuff. And you know, the season was just incredible, as I mentioned, and what a thrill ride to the end. Quite a story, too, because Andrew and I did a podcast with Dan Price. I was actually on vacation. I didn't realize the season would go this long. And I ended up on a cruise, and there I am, hoping the satellite's going to work while we're cruising and talking with Dan. And it turned out great, and it was awesome to have a chance to speak with Dan, of course. But yeah, outstanding. We were thrilled with your great team and all the wonderful things that happened for sure. And I know that Andrew's got lots to say about it as well.
Absolutely. You know, it's kind of a bittersweet taste in the mouth. You climb all the way to the summit, and it's just a couple games short of that ultimate prize. But I know we've all kind of talked a lot about the little things and those accomplishments that come together and make something special. And I think this Wolves team really did that this past year. You know, besides just wins and losses, what do you see as the biggest achievements from the squad this year?
Yeah, the biggest thing was just how we came together as a family. Just the leaders that showed themselves and stepped up and continued to grow in that responsibility, within our culture. Just the togetherness that brought us through each game of the playoffs. It was just really special to see the guys fight for another day with each other and, overcome a lot of obstacles right from the first series, through Grand Rapids, and then Colorado was such a war, which we may have felt some of those effects starting the Calder Cup final, being down, starting goaltender, being down, our leading point getter. It was a true battle. And, when you get to go through those like warlike scenarios, you gain a respect with the guys next to you that really never goes away. So that's the promising thing and the exciting thing that you take out of that whole run, in spite of us coming a little short. Now these guys get to play, a number of them get to play another year together, and they know now, what kind of individual is next to them more than ever before.
Absolutely. I mean, I know I've kind of felt at a different level of hockey, obviously, but when you're in the trenches with those guys next to you, it really kind of shows the true character of a lot of the guys that you're playing with. And I mean, the resiliency was really surprising to see in a good way from this team. And I enjoyed watching it from the outside. I'm sure it was even better from behind the bench. Is there like any other kind of like special, anything special you take away from this run, from this year as a whole? Anything that you've learned about yourself or about the profession perspective behind the bench?
Yeah, I mean, it was a real learning season for me, and obviously an interesting one, having taken over on December 12th, coaching the last 50 games of the season, then into playoffs for the first time in my American League coaching career as a head coach. I was able to lean on some past experiences. I had been in the playoffs as an ECHL head coach. I had been to a Calder Cup and won one as an assistant coach with the Grand Rapids Griffin. So I had some experiences to pull on, but it was still such a new journey for me. I think the biggest thing I learned, and, as cliche as it might sound, but the power of positivity, just sticking to the process, taking the little victories, not getting too high or too low off based on results. And as soon as the coaching change happened, I think that's the track that we were on as a family unit. And, we had some ups, we had some downs, we hit some valleys. Everyone knows about, the month of March, but everyone knows our resurgence in the month of April. Yeah. Just being able to go through those pains and those victories together, but staying steady through them all. It was the power of positivity that got us through every day, taking those little victories, daily development, reaching individual and team goals and tracking them day in, day out and making those connections. So that's the biggest thing I learned about myself, is cultivating the environment of constant development and sticking to the process. If you do that well, the results eventually do come. And they did for us, and we're happy they did. But it's those little connections that we made through the year that, are the special moments.
Oh, yeah. And you take all of these lessons and everything from all these takeaways from the season now, and we're heading into this summer now. It's been a unique position for this organization. You got the parent team that was in the Stanley Cup Finals. You guys were in the Calder Cup Finals, which actually went longer than the Stanley Cup. Yeah. And it just feels like from that, you turn around and the draft is right there, and the development camps and everything afterwards. Has it really felt like there's been an offseason for you guys?
Yeah, it's definitely short. The reward for having success, is a shorter offseason. Now, I'm sure the Canes don't feel as bad about the short off season as maybe the Wolves do. So we didn't get to end it with lifting the cup, but that just means you're doing things well. The less time you have to work on your golf game, and the less barbecues or 16-ounce curls that you can do in the summer, that means that you're doing well. So those are sacrifices I think every hockey player and every hockey staff member is willing to make. To pursue the ultimate prize. But no, I mean, it's been a short summer. It's even a little bit more short for me as my family's finally moving to Chicago. So, school starts mid-August, where normally I wouldn't be leaving for Carolina till after Labor Day. So when you look at year one with the Wolves, when I was home on April 26th, and then I was, in Toronto area till after Labor Day, now being home on June 28th and leaving on August 17th is a lot shorter of a summer, but we are happy to have that problem because it means that we had success. And there's constant work to be done. You're diving into video projects for the following year. You got to get ready for rookie camp. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit, but we were kind of dove deep into a process to hire a new assistant coach and a video coach. So
that's exciting.
We've been working hard all summer, but definitely take some moments to enjoy the family and appreciate the time that we have away from the rink as well.
Absolutely, and it's important to have those moments as well. I was kind of curious about the processes over the summer. We'll kind of get into that, but as you have these quick turnarounds, and I mean, you mentioned the rookie camp and everything before. You bringing in these next wave of young players, and you have your first impressions of them on your end, but what are the first impressions that you try to make with them and introduce them to an organization that's kind of set the standard in the sport the last year here?
Yeah, the biggest thing is to just connect as early as you can. Because we had such a long season, the coaches weren't involved in development camp this year, so haven't yet to make the first connection with the newly drafted prospects. I think I'll meet some of them in rookie camp and coach them through rookie tournament. So that'll be a great opportunity for me to introduce them to our style of play, our expectations, build an early relationship with them, whether I see them next year or the following year or 2 years down the road. just a familiar face that when they keep coming back, whether it's for development camps or rookie tournament or to play in the American League, there's that familiarity where that transition over to North America if they're European or into pro if they're college or junior guys is a little bit more, streamlined because they've had those connections, those relationships. So for me, it's always about connecting just as a person to person first, just to be somebody they can rely on, reach out to if they need anything, ask questions, and just hopefully learn from in those short moments in time through those different camps. In terms of the guys that, we know are going to be with us, you talk about guys, like Charlie Serrato or, Newell Franzen. We've already made contact with those guys. We've had, some touches with them in previous camps. Charlie spent some time with us early in the playoff run. Right now, actually, over the last couple of weeks, I'm just making my rounds through texting, calling, checking in with guys. And for me, always as part of my coaching philosophy, it's not really to talk much about hockey. Like, we'll graze over some individual goals and some visions for the year. But, how are they doing? How's their, for the young guys, if they have a girlfriend or their families or brothers and sisters, how are they doing, where they've been spending their summers, what are some interesting things they've done? You can learn a lot of information about the people you're coaching just by, asking about what they're doing on their spare time, what they're keying in on their training and their skating, what lakes they like to fish on or swim in, you learn a lot about people. So that's kind of how I approach it. And, I'm just kind of in the midst of that now. It's just kind of the halfway points. I've been making some calls over the last couple weeks.
What's been the most intriguing, the weirdest, wild out there answer that you've gotten over someone from how they're spending their time this summer? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've made some calls when people are out on bear hunting excursions. That's always interesting. Guys are on boats and I can't hear anything in the background, or, talk to, Alexei Hamilsami, and he's at a Stanley Cup party with Juha Yaska there for their buddy KK. So it's just, they're all over the place, but it's fun because you get to just talk to the person, not just the player. So, it's just, those are the fun conversations for me, and getting them excited. Just, it's just like a little whisper in their ear that hockey's around the corner and we're going to be dialing in soon, but at the same time, encouraging them to enjoy what they have left of the summer as they train at the same time. So it's, there's been some interesting stories of guys, but caught a couple guys at the Calgary Stampede.
Oh no.
Yeah. But that's great. I love that. And the fact that guys will answer the phone, actually,
that's insane.
I know I haven't named any names, but I'm going to name one name today. I called Bryce Montgomery, and he's about to step on the plane with his brother to go to Bermuda, and he's all happy. You could tell he's jacked up for a vacation, but it's just, I love hearing that stuff. I love hearing young men enjoying their lives and getting what their body needs, just both in the gym and on the ice, but also in that relaxation mode, because it is really important for them to reset. So it's been fun connecting with the guys.
Well, for sure, and it's interesting because clearly watching as the Wolves kind of finished the season and went into the playoffs, and Andrew and I talked about this a lot, but the players would go through a wall for you, Spiros. We could see it. They, every time they got on the ice, there was nothing left. They were just going out there and they're putting it all on the ice, and that's we felt that was a strong statement to the outstanding work that you and your crew of coaches have done. Just incredible. And you typify, I think, the type of coach that folks really want to play for. So, well done. Nicely done. And I'm sure the guys are excited to get your call and looking forward to getting the skates on and playing again this fall. One other thing about the development camp, I was talking to Nick Bass about it. You've got some hulking defensemen coming. I got to tell you something. There's some big dogs on the roll here. Kerbin Limitov, Timur Cole, both from Russia, and of course William Hawkinson, who was just drafted out of Sweden. These guys are going to be, they're really something. So you're going to have a constant flow of guys coming in from, obviously the Canes have drafted a lot of really exciting players over the last number of years, and we're going to start to see some of those, particularly Europeans, coming over, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So good stuff going on with the future of the Wolves as well. Just thought I'd mention that.
For sure. No, I'm excited to get the opportunity to coach some of those guys. Some of them might be as early as, the spring of this coming season. Some of those Europeans come over for, a little bit just to get the taste. So heard nothing but great things about them. Great skaters, great size, some physicality, great shots. I mean, that checks a lot of boxes. So I think, the future, especially on the D core, it looks like it continues to get better. And we've had a lot of success on the D core over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So it's impressive. It's impressive that our management continues to make these kinds of picks and find those guys in later rounds, because when you're a successful team like the Canes are, you don't get those top picks. So you got to get creative and you got to do your homework. And Darren York and his staff, there's nobody better at finding every detail in those guys.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because, that's something that again, Nick and I discussed, that, man, these picks are way later. Like, they're third, fourth, even up to the fifth round. And in some cases, we know that some of the picks from Russia, of course, there wasn't as much interest in drafting out of Russia for a period of time. And the Canes took full advantage of that. But the Canes are now finding other nuggets and finding some interesting ones. I mean, you think about, the work that they do in finding players that folks aren't really thinking about. Charlie Serrato last year was definitely not seen as a person that would be picked when he was. But here's a guy that, and you've seen him, and what you're getting in Charlie. He's going to be a very exciting player for you this year. So, kudos to Darren and the crew. They do a fantastic job. Yeah.
They do.
Well, now we're kind of here in the dog days of summer, and it's been a little while now since that that final whistle in the Calder Cup Finals, and I mean we talked a bit about how you're not really super detached from the game, although we're kind of here in the midst of the off season. When do you kind of start feeling that itch to get back behind the bench? Are you there right now? Is it going to be, a couple more weeks, or are you kind of taking your summer in where you can get it right now?
Well, I've been doing, with the Greek team, I was behind the bench, in mid-July. So, I got a couple repetitions there for a good 4 games at a tournament in Montreal. I'm in the dugout a lot, about 3-4 times a week. I'm in the dugout, coaching travel baseball with my 2 boys, and my wife is actually the head coach. I'm one of her 3 assistants. So, the coaching reps never stop. But in terms of on the bench with the Wolves, I'd be ready to go tomorrow. That's our livelihood. That's our DNA. You need the rest, you need the reset, but you're always itching to be in that fight and that compete. That's what keeps us going. The coaching identity is a unique one. I think that's why you see coaches coach into their mid 70s. It's just, we're always ready to go. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for rookie tournament this year. It's in Raleigh. That'll be really nice, to play at the Invisalign there and not have to move around. My first 2 years were at Nashville and then Tampa last year, which are great cities, obviously. But I think just keeping everything through rookie camp, right through main camp in Raleigh will be a nice change of pace for us. I'm ready to go behind the bench. So yeah, I am. I'm pretty much chomping at the bit to get going.
I love it. You can't keep a real warrior down for too long. We've kind of covered the whole summer. You've been keeping yourself busy between, whether it's coaching hockey or coaching baseball. It just seems like, you kind of go from one thing to the next. I guess, you've been working on that golf game at all. I know that's there's a couple good swingers on the team. I know Zooks is one, but he's going to be taking his talents out to Belleville and taking on the putting greens out there. I know for sure.
Yeah, well, I think Josiah Slavin was one of the better ones last year.
Mm-hmm.
There's some guys with some power, like Felix Ungerstorm, Bradley Nadeau, and I were put on a foursome in our early year golf tournament. I think they were shocked that I could outdrive both of them, but to no one's surprise, they had a little bit more finesse than I did in the short game. They got those good hands, but we were a good foursome. It was the 3 of us, and Rob Kennedy, our equipment manager, who actually surprisingly is quite a good golfer. He had the years of experience, but unfortunately, no, I haven't gone any repetitions this summer. Just with moving the family and baseball and the short summer, we haven't been able to spend a lot of time on the golf course. But I'm sure some of our guys are. I know I was talking to Ronan Seeley, and he was on the golf course this past weekend, and I think he was with Josiah and Jacob Slavin celebrating something. I don't know what it was, somebody's birthday or maybe the Stanley Cup. It could have been that. But
maybe it was Roman's contract.
Yeah, it could have been that as well. Yeah, he was down in Raleigh, so he's there early to start training. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I know the guys are, but I unfortunately have not. But it's been a great summer, and try to balance work and leisure at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I thought we'd maybe shift gears a little bit just for a few minutes two on this one, Spiros, and talk about the team coming up. Folks are wondering, like, what's up with the Wolves, right? So, we've had some movement. Some interesting ones. Giovanni Smith went to Shanghai in the KHL. That was kind of fun. Dominic Fensori, he's gone. He's gone to the Colorado organization. Of course, Ryan's gone. You mentioned Andrew. He's gone to Belleville. He'll be closer to his brother, so I think that's kind of cool. And you've got others, Noah Philp and Noel Gunler, who both went over to Europe. So a number of players gone. Still some players we're trying to figure out. We're, those of us doing these podcasts are asking questions. What's going on with Skyler? What's going on with Josiah? What's going on with Amir? We don't hear much, but, hopefully we'll hear some news on those guys as things go along. And then a rumor on Nikita Pavlichev, I kind of laughed the other day. Somebody said he's going to Shanghai and joining Giovanni Smith. So I don't know if that's true or not. You might know more about that than us. But any update on anything going on with the folks that we don't know about at this stage?
Yeah, I mean, with the great thing at the end of the year, and obviously this may have been due to our success, but I'd like to believe it's due to the culture and family that we built in our locker room. Is every one of those guys expressed a deep interest in returning. It was for a lot of the guys, we were their first option. Now, obviously, we know there's lots that comes into play, with management and agents and new players coming in and draft picks and so on. It's true. Some of those guys are moving on. We all already listed a few that are for sure. Yeah. But I would anticipate that, some of those unknowns will be back in a Canes jersey at first for training camp and exhibition games, and then potentially in a Wolves jersey for 2026-27. But some things are still being ironed out. Some contracts take a little longer to figure out than others, and who knows? Some of them might already be signed; they just haven't been announced yet, right? So that happens as well. So I would anticipate that a few of those question marks will turn into check marks, and a few of them won't be back, just like every other season for every team in the American League. But I think we will have a good nucleus, a good core of returning guys. And additionally, some guys that will replace some of that depth production. Obviously we're losing some with Philp. We're losing some with, Noel Gunler. If Nikita Pavlichev doesn't return, you're starting to talk about 30, 35 goals that you got to replace. But I think we've signed some really interesting guys. You look at Chase Wheatcroft. Yes. He's coming off an injury-filled season, but he's a guy that was, steadily getting better every year in the American League with Texas. You look at Gabriel Seeger, who is, taken steps every year and gotten better. So can they replace a Gunler? Can they replace a Pavlichev if we need to replace him? A Noah Philp. Yeah, Suzuki is the biggest loss, production-wise. But we're a development team, and we're really excited about our prospects. So, we lose a 1C, but maybe our 1C and 2C next year cumulatively will be able to make up for that. And maybe Charlie Serrato and Ivan Ryabkin, start to make up for those lost production points. And it's okay when you have two guys that can make up for one. It gives us a little bit more depth. Yeah. So, there's a lot of promising things around the corner. We'll be young again. Yeah. We'll have one of the lower AHL payrolls again. That's our identity. But man, does it feel so much sweeter when you knock off the Grand Rapids Griffins and the Colorado Eagles. Oh. And we lost to the Marlies, but we were right there with them, and we were one of the youngest teams in the league and one of the lowest AHL payrolls. So we'll do it our way, and we'll find a way. So.
Well, some of these other teams, and of course, Andrew and I talked a lot about this too, Spiros, they had veterans that had been around the AHL for years and make pretty darn good money as well, as you know, and they were loaded up with that. And you guys, as you said, were coming with the younger guys and just playing hard and doing it. A couple of comments on the new guys, for those that don't know much about them. Chase Wheatcroft, he had a phenomenal year as last year in junior. He had 107 points in 60 games, and when he was signed, Dauber Prospect said this about him: a productive top six center with a high offensive ceiling, great playmaker with a strong wrist shot. He's an elite finisher with great vision. This sounds like a guy that's a sleeper, right? So he could be a guy that comes in and really helps you, I think.
I agree. I actually just talked to him today. He's so excited. We've had a lot of success finding those kinds of guys. Again, with a cumulative effort, with Darren York and Mark Craig, our head pro scout, and, Chris Abbott is the VP of pro player personnel. They like to bring me in the loop too. So there's a real collaborative effort amongst 3 or 4 of us when we find these contracts. And he's a guy that I think is going to be really hungry and excited to be back. He only played 8 games last year.
Yes.
But we have found success with those sleepers. 2 years ago, is the same situation with Nick Sweeney. He came off a year where we only played 7 games. He was a critical piece for us in our young team making it to the playoffs in 24-25. You look at guys like Nikita Pavlichev, Evan Vierling, Yannick Turcotte. These are guys that grinded through the ECHL, become full-time American leaguers. That's the exciting thing for guys that sign with us. Everyone knows that we don't have hired guns. Everyone knows that we're young. So it gives those guys an opportunity that they're really excited about. And, we think Chase could be one of those guys that steps up and, produces the way we know he can. So we're excited for him and the opportunity. I know he's excited to get back to playing. Cool. And we think he's going to give us some good scoring depth. So, you talk about some of the goals that we're losing. We could be, we could be supplementing them or surpassing them with some of the guys that we've brought in.
Well, Gabriel Seeger, same story. Like, he finished his last college year. He had 44 points in 35 games with Cornell. So he was lighting it up big time, right? And these guys are big. They're not little players. I mean, Seeger's 6'4" and 215, and Wheatcroft is 6'3" and 190. These aren't little guys. So
we've added a little bit of meat. Even some of our depth signings. You look at Matt Curcia.
Yes.
Out of Wheeling, like he's a sleeper as well. He's a big dude. He's a tough dude who can find ways to score goals at the same time. He's been kind of a Tom Wilson guy in the ECHL. He's produced really well for Wheeling over the last number of years. He's had a few games for Wilkes-Barre in the American League, but he might be able to run with an opportunity with us. So we're excited to see what he can bring to the table as well. So it's we're happy about our depth and. Like I said, the collaborative effort between our scouting department, our management, and our coaching staff in Chicago, we find ways to get guys that'll help our style of play.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And like Zach Sachenko was added in goal, and this was an interesting one to me because he played in Alberta in the college ranks when you were there, correct?
Yeah, I actually tried to recruit him to the University of Lethbridge. He left a year earlier than most WHL players would have. Most WHL players play their 20-year-old year and then go on to Canadian University. Yeah. I had an early insider information that he was thinking of leaving a year early, so I tried to get the first step on him. We talked for a couple weeks, and he ended up choosing the U of A, probably a good choice at the end of the day. Sure. I finally got him. All these years later. I think we're about 8 years later now. So he was a great goaltender. He was a great goaltender for Moose Jaw, great for the U of A.
Oh, yeah.
He's had a good career through, starting in the ECHL and then working his way to the American League. Like he was one shot away from beating those Marlies, in the division finals. He really took the reins for Cleveland last year, which was real promising for his game. we think he's going to bring a leadership piece to our goaltending unit as well. So we're happy to have him back in Chicago.
Yeah, he was in Chicago before, correct.
Yeah, so first-class human, good goaltender, and we're happy to have him as well.
Yeah, I've seen some things about him on social media, and he does look like a great guy. So that's great stuff. So now, a couple of guys from last year, wanted to just talk about those for a minute. Of course, Evan Vierling's back. I think that's great. I thought he just did a great job in the role that he had.
Yeah, we love Veers. I got to give kudos to Dan Price first. I had some familiarity with Evan Vierling through my scouting days with the Jets, having covered some ECHL. I remember the first time I watched him was at actually the Buffalo rookie tournament when he was with Boston at the time. But I'd watched him when he played in Wheeling, played in Maine. But, he signed a two-way deal with us. He was probably, penciled into being Greensboro last year. And after his first game at rookie tournament in Tampa last year, Dan Price immediately is like, we got to watch this guy a little bit more closely. And, he just liked the plays he made. He liked some of the decisions he made. And then because I had a little bit of a book on him, I was like, yeah, of course I'll watch him. I got time for him. And then, after game 2, then he had 2 fans in Dan and myself. And sometimes it takes some convincing because you got things penciled in. Yeah. It takes some convincing to turn the pencil around and use the eraser because, you have an idea what the depth chart looks like. But, everything happens for a reason, as cliche as that is. There's some early injuries and some guys aren't available right away. Giovanni Smith, he has a little bit of a visa issue to start the season, and then he comes and plays 6 games and he gets injured. So just Evan kept earning a spot just a little bit by default, but then his play kept showing in every game, and then eventually ended up being a full-time player for us, playing 70 of our 72 games and 20 of our 21 playoff games. So he played 90 games for the Wolves last year, so he definitely earned the re-signing and to be back in our in our fold. So he's somebody that's continued to grow, and one of those guys that was that sleeper, and now he's kind of made a name for himself. So really excited to have him. He's very versatile. He can play power play, play penalty kill, can move him to the top 6. He's more of a middle 6 guy that, provides a great secondary offense, but we think he can take a step forward and provide even more this year. So really happy for Evan. We love him, and I know he loves being a Chicago Wolf, so it's a great spot for him to be.
Yeah, we're pleased to see he was coming back for sure. He's a guy that really put it out last year. I thought he did a great job. Now, what's a player on the forward side, just to wrap up the forwards that I'm wondering about, is Gleb Cherkozov. What's going on with Gleb?
I was talking to Gleb today, actually. I wasn't kidding you. I try to keep in touch with these guys, and Gleb's his little boy Leo is starting to buzz around, so I can't wait to see him, walking at and running around the rink next year. Gleb's getting stronger. He's getting faster. Everybody's journey and everybody's path is a little bit different. Yeah. We know the strengths that Gleb Cherkozov has. Yeah. He's a strong individual. When he wants to play physical, he can play with anybody in the league. And he's got a heck of a shot. It's just some little details that he needs to continue to work on that we thought he took steps forward with last year. He had some great games. There's one game in Rockford where he was just a force. A couple games at home against Milwaukee. And the promising thing there is those are 2 of the heavier teams in our division. So he's shown us that he can play heavy hockey, efficient hockey, smart hockey where he's depositing pucks, going to get them and opening himself up for, key shooting opportunities. He's just an individual that needs to continue to work on consistency. He knows it. He's determined to get better every day. There's some opportunities now in our lineup with having lost some depth pieces that he's going to compete against guys. And I think he's going to be hungry going into his last year of his entry level contract. So, I'm excited for Gleb, just like I'm excited for all of our guys. But from the last I heard from him, he's enjoying the summer, enjoying being a new dad still. But he guarantees me he's going to be faster and stronger. And I believe him,
Well, when Gleb was drafted and first came over, we had tremendous high hopes for him. And, we're still hoping that he can find the magic, because he had, I think, one of the development, or one of the prospect showcases. He really was hot. He had a hat trick in one game, and we thought, oh man, the guy's ready to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, he's had some injuries and some setbacks, but hopefully this year will be the difference for him. Yeah. Okay, two other things just to wrap up on the lineup, Spiros. Defensive core, a lot of guys coming back. That's great. You talked about Noel Franzen adding to it. How are you feeling about the D-core as you head into the year?
Yeah, I think we're excited. The newest piece, or the only new piece, is going to be Franzen. Yeah. Reports out of development camp are real positive with him. He's got great skating ability. He's not small at all. So he's got some size to him. Now he's going to have to adjust and learn how to use that size at the American League level, and learn how to take those hits night in and night out. But we got, Don Benigka coming into his second year. Yeah. We have guys who only 2 years ago, I felt like I was, taking on his huge development projects, and now we're going to be our older statesmen. And you look at, Ronan Seeley and, potentially Charles Legault. Does Joel Nystrom end up with us? What I love about it is there's going to be a spot in Carolina, and 2 or 3 guys are going to be capable of filling it. And that internal competition, if it's channeled the right way, can mean really great things for the Chicago Wolves when they're playing with us. Joel got 38 games last year. I think Charles got 12 or 13.
Right.
So, when you're counting the games played by Wolves defensemen last year, that's half an NHL regular season. So I think the guys see that the importance for them to stay ready, the impact they can have on the NHL club, and the development that's been made, playing important games and a lot of repetitions with the Chicago Wolves. So our guys, they come into camp with one vision and one goal, but they're aware that the journey takes time, and every piece of it is important for the end goal and the end result. So excited to have Alexei Hamelsalmi back. He took such a stride last year. He didn't play every playoff game, but when he did, it seemed like he always did something. Sure. We kept calling him the closer because it seemed like even though he was in and out, he was always in on those series deciding games, and he made an important impact. But even all the way to Bryce Montgomery, who's had to earn it through the ECHL. He's bigger, he's tougher. He's an exceptional skater. He's made such an impact on the guys too, and guys feel safe when he's on the ice. So I'm excited by our D-core. I don't know if we're going to get a veteran guy. Obviously, the Canes re-signed Juuso Välimäki. Yes. But I've said this like 5 times now, but I also talked to him today. He's dead set on being an NHLer, and who are we kidding? He is an NHL defenseman, right? So he wants to be with the Canes, and that's where we want him to be, because that's what's best for him. That's where he belongs. But does that push someone else down? Do the Canes sign an 8th defenseman to be with the Wolves like they've had the last couple of years?
Sure.
We don't know exactly. It's not nothing set in stone yet, but what we know is there's going to be some familiarity for sure with only Franzen being the new guy, and everybody should be a season better. So it's been our strength the last couple of years. I expect it to be a strength again.
Yeah, and when you look at Joel Nystrom and Noel Franzen and Alexei Hamelsalmi, these guys can motor and really move the puck for you. So if you've got those 3 guys, you're going to get out of the zone quickly. That's for sure.
Yeah, they fit our style of play, just keeping the puck moving north. So.
Yeah, they're great guys. One last question, and something I talked to Nick about, was Igor Välimäki signed to a deal with the Wolves. That was kind of interesting. Nick he really liked Välimäki, and he had met him at a development camp, I think last year. Really thought he was a great guy, and so he's there. You've got Ruslan Kazayev, who's still fighting to get up with the Wolves, and of course you've got Sachenko now. It's getting kind of crowded on the goaltending side.
Yeah, I mean, goaltending depth is important. You never know when you need it, and you never want to be caught unprepared for those moments where you do need somebody to come up, whether it's to the big club or to the AHL team. You're not going to believe this, but I talked to Ruslan and Igor today as well. I was putting in the work today. I was putting in the work. Igor sounds so excited. This is going to be his first, full season in North America. Ruslan has been getting better every year. He saw so much value in playing a lot of games and seeing a lot of rubber in Greensboro last year. He only played the one game with us, which he played exceptionally well. He handed Grand Rapids their first loss of the season, which was kind of cool. But when he came with us through the playoffs, he was such an excellent presence, and he was always ready and worked extremely hard. Cool. Those are two young, goalies from Russia and Belarus that they know that they're going to take some time. And, usually goaltenders take some time. But having them here within our scope, being able to work with Jason Mazzotti or Stan Dubicki when they're with us, I think that's the important part. And I know Yegor signed an AHL deal, but that's not uncommon. No. When I was with the Jets organization, they did that with, Thomas Milic. They signed him to an AHL deal first and eventually made him on an AHL deal. There's some reasoning behind that with rights and, burning years. I don't know. That's above my pay grade, but yeah, it's a good start for Valmakin to come over to North America. So I'm excited for those guys. Without a doubt, they're going to have to play games for us. I don't know how many, but it's going to be an important development season for both of them. So, well,
for sure, the lineup's starting to come together as you sit up on the whiteboard and start to put the names in the positions. It must be exciting for you on that whole side, Spiros.
Yeah, I have this little depth chart on my phone that I continuously look at and I keep tinkering with. And then I remember that there's all these big trades that the Canes seem to be in on every week. I hear about them. Nothing's happened yet, but you don't know when the trigger's going to be pulled on something. Then there's, knock on wood, there's injuries, there's call-ups, there's waiver wire. So, you can't really feel 100% until you see the whites of their eyes in your locker room. So, but you can plan and have contingency plans. I'm excited for the core that we're going to have regardless. And, it's going to be an exciting brand of hockey again, for the Chicago Wolves.
Yeah, that's amazing. You talk about the whites of their eyes. Andrew has told me many times, and we've laughed about this. He said, you have to understand in the American Hockey League, players are coming and going all the time. So don't get fixated on the lineup today because it could be a lot different tomorrow. So yeah, you're obviously facing some of that as well. But yeah, we obviously doing talking about the Hurricanes on our other podcasts. We keep wondering when the shoe is going to drop, and of course the players that their names keep coming up are the ones that also are part of your organization. So that must be kind of there's the phone.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the game. What I do know is that, Eric Tulsky and his staff, Tyler Dello and Darren York, they're very calculated. They're very, thoughtful and purposeful with everything they do. Yeah. And I obviously that showed this year with winning a Stanley Cup. And, so they're not going to do anything just to do it. And they're really good at communicating and letting us know what the future has in store. So just trust in the process, So it's we'll take whatever comes our way and we'll do our best. So we're excited for it.
And we affectionately called Eric the Wizard because of what he does. We're always in awe of what Eric does. He's incredible. And of course, Darren and the rest of the crew that help him. They've just done a phenomenal job. Okay, as we wrap up, Andrew, what you got, man?
It's your, obviously you had the whole second half and then some of the season and all the playoffs. So this is your first official full year as the full-time head coach and all that. I mean, does it feel any different to you? Obviously, you've been around, and this is not your first rodeo. You're heading into the third season behind the bench there, but is it after everything from last season with the Canes, with the Wolves, you know, do you feel like you just is there just kind of getting back to that mountain that you feel ahead of you, or is it just kind of we're gonna roll up the sleeves, we're gonna get to work and just kind of keep that well-oiled machine going?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Like every season brings a new excitement and, you know, new challenges and a new opportunity to refine yourself and get better. In terms of like the first full season, you know, with 50 regular season games and 21 playoff games, I was only one game shy of actually a 72 game season as the head coach. So, you know, I almost did get a full season as the head coach last year. So thankfully I got those reps and I'll be ready. The exciting part and the different part this year, actually, you know, we just finalized the hire for our coaching staff. So we'll be adding an assistant as we are operating a man short. That'll be announced shortly, so stay tuned on that. You know, we're hiring a new video coach as Zach Richards took a bench coaching job with Michigan Tech in college hockey. So we're excited for Zach and excited for the new hire that we're going to be bringing in. So with the new dynamic of the staff, the biggest change for me is I'm going to be sliding to the middle of the bench. You know, it's bittersweet because my D unit and my D dinners and all our little D individual meetings, I'm going to have to pass the torch to a coach who is going to be a real excitable guy and really great for development of our young D prospects. A wonderful person and a really great hockey coach. And maybe he'll do better for our guys than I did. You know, that's actually my hope, because that means that we'll be in the right direction with those prospects. So a little bit of a change on the bench with me, kind of shift into the middle, you know, working the forwards with Dan. Dan does an exceptional job at strategizing. You know, if I could give him a title of like director of strategy, like he's the man. Like if you look at those war movies where they got the map and the little pawns going around everywhere and the general is just standing over the board, but there's the guy who's moving everything, that's Dan. And you know, he's talk about an intelligent coach, and I know you guys got, you know, to feel that a little bit in your interaction with him, but line matching, timing, you know, taking advantage of the last change, but somehow flipping the advantage of the first change when we're on the road. He talk about wizard type people. He is one of them. So, you know, I'm excited for that new dynamic where I shift closer to him and we work that together. You know, that'll make me a better coach for sure. So some changes that I'm excited for, but at the end of the day, like you had mentioned, ready to get to work, you know, keep the momentum going, build on the positives and the building blocks and foundation that we've set, but also you gotta always be willing to adapt and you know, try some new things, which we'll be discussing as a staff over the next month.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, we enjoyed Dan immensely, and he lived up to his advanced billing for sure. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Spiros, just to wrap up from you, any final comments?
Well, as always, I appreciate, you know, the coverage of the Wolves. You know, Chicago and Raleigh aren't too close together, but you know, for all those Canes fans that watch us and keep track of the future Canes, it's exciting to follow our success. And you know, I thank guys like Andrew and Tom for bringing that to light. And you know, potentially we'll do some even more stuff this season. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, these are exciting young men, and you know, they deserve all the recognition. So I'm really appreciative of that, and you know, hope to see some more games played from our boys up with the Canes this year. Not due to injury or anything like that, but hopefully they make an impact when they're there. So
for sure, and you know, we talked a lot about this last year, where every time one of your players went up to join the Canes, they didn't miss a beat because they know exactly what they need to do, and they were all just incredibly effective. So great work by you and your coaching staff to prep these guys. And boy, we were thrilled to see them. For sure.
I mean, we're happy to be a very small part of that success. But to tell you the truth, the standard, you know, of what it means to be a player in the Hurricanes organization, it starts with Rod Brindamore and his staff.
Yeah.
It is so seamless, it's so clear. I know you've seen those clips of that first meeting when training camp starts. the Wolves staff is in that back of that room too. So we're getting just as juiced up and salivating at the mouth, ready to go just by his presence. So, he sets the standard. They set the systems, and we try our best to have the guys ready. But it's his culture runs deep right through to Chicago. So, he sets the tone, and his staff they've earned everything they got last year. I couldn't be happier for all those guys up there. So just, trying to have our guys ready. So I appreciate the kudos. Thanks, Tom.
No, for sure. And hey, as always, Spiros, it's just a great time having you on board with us. We have so much fun, and we obviously learn a ton. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. You're trying to move, and you've got your guys in ball, and you're doing all these things at the same time. But thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and I look forward to chatting a lot more this year. And let's enjoy the rest of summer, but let's be ready for hockey season.
Let's get ready for hockey. Yeah, it seems like it's just around the corner. Anyway, Andrew, of course, always great to have you on board. We enjoy the conversations immensely, and we'll continue to do this. And as Spiros suggested, we're going to be doing more coverage of the Wolves this year for sure. And we're excited about that, and we'll let the folks know more about that as it kind of comes together. But top of mind for us will be the Chicago Wolves this year, so that's awesome stuff. In any case, for those of you who've been watching or listening, of course, we're delighted to spend time with us. If you like this episode, please press the like button. And of course, if you have comments or questions for Spiros or Andrew or myself, please put those in the comment section below. And finally, if you want to be alerted of future episodes of Storm Tracker, please press the subscribe and the bell buttons, and we'll make sure you're made aware just as soon as they're available. As always, we thank you so much for spending time with us, and we look forward to getting together with you real soon right here on Storm Tracker.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends for everything with the Canes you need. Storm Tracker.